back together. All right, we're going to do finer questions. We're going to do a quick round robin of finer questions. So we'll thumbs up and thumbs down. And if you need help, grab me during the break. Is that fair? Okay, passing the mic. Go for it. Don't start there. Okay. Then you need help. Pass just means you find us. And we'll, okay, so finer questions.
Like, what's my research question?
Yep.
Okay. Should I tell?
Go for it.
Okay. So I guess my research question is, does incorporating a choose-your-own-adventure virtual simulation curriculum, is it feasible and acceptable for med students?
That's a reasonable question. I think you got to worry about outcomes, and you got to worry about doing it someplace else. But go.
Mine was, how does a ultrasound mini fellowship affect adoption of new technology? Yeah.
And actually, I realize, says the introvert. Who wants the mic next? Let's just do it that way, so you don't have to. You don't want to. Who wants to? Who's next? Then I'm going to start making. Who wants to give a finer question? Okay.
So my question is, can simulation act as a catalyst for professional identity formation for medical students?
The ringer here is he actually has a business school instrument that measures professional identity development, which is kind of a cool idea. So that's because I'm like, how are you going to measure that? And he's like, I've got an instrument. I'm like, okay, let's check it out. Cool. Okay. Who else wants to do one? Come on, step up, because you don't get any help if you don't. Y'all are killing me here. No, torturing people.
Okay, so I guess my basic question would be, we've implemented a scholar activity or a research rotation program for M3s and M4s. And we've seen that it has, at least anecdotally in our department, become a really good recruitment tool. So it's kind of allowing for both faculty and medical students to kind of get a better picture of what the kind of behind the scenes dynamic is outside of the department. So I guess the question would be to say, has this had a benefit, or is this useful for recruitment in emergency medicine residencies in terms of like maintaining kind of the culture that you're looking for in your program?
Okay, anybody else? Boy, y'all are being really shy. Okay. So the next step, once you've actually done your question, is that you're then going to go to your literature review. And so Steve's going to take over from here.
Yeah, so I didn't get to introduce myself before because I was out getting working it out for you all, but I'm Steve Cico. Okay, so I'm Steve Cico. I am a pediatric emergency medicine doc by training, and I'm at the University of Central Florida as their DIO. I'm in a new position. I've been there a whopping 8 weeks. But we're going to talk a little bit about lit searches. So why do you do a literature search? Okay, so making sure it's not done before, that it's novel. Why else? Okay, so maybe to try to figure out how you can do something because someone else has kind of done it before?
Yeah, I mean, typically, you want to see what the published methods for studying a particular topic are. And I think that when you go to publish them and you're using previously reviewed and published methodologies, it strengthens your submissions.
Absolutely. Why else?
You read the discussion, and a lot of times the authors mention, the next thing that we should study is, you can steal the ideas. You can adapt your ideas from the discussion.
I love it. So to get research ideas, what's been done and where are the gaps in the literature? How about I'll rephrase it like that?
Yes.
Well, yeah, they always have the next steps.
Yeah.
Just take one of the next steps.
Why else?
Make sure there's a foundation for whatever your research question is.
Absolutely. Other ideas? So yeah, So I think you've hit the big things. I think that one of the things that's really important is doing a good lit search and making sure that you get the right things. So how do you start is the big question. You've got your kind of finer question figured out. Sally has worked on that with you. Now you've got an idea. Where are you going to start looking? Okay, so PubMed. So tell me about that.
In terms of the search.
Yeah, or why PubMed? You said you start with PubMed.
Part of it is just it's grandfathered into my brain that that's where most of it they have to meet certain criteria to be PubMed index. So I start there for to have a certain assumption of the validity of what I'm looking at, and then it's indexed in such a way that you can get pretty specific in terms of what you're looking for. But I guess in order to do that, you need to have a really objective idea of what you're looking for, and then you have to have all your search terms and things that you know. So sometimes a Google search, even a Google Scholar search for that can be helpful.
Okay. So you mentioned Google Scholar. Does anyone want to talk a little about what that is?
I don't know what it takes to get a Google Scholar.
Okay.
It's just a ranking. It's tracking the publications and the authors and where they are.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about Google Scholar is that they don't disclose all that. So it is rather nebulous, like everything in search engines and stuff. Google Scholar doesn't really publish where they pull from, how often they update it, or the ranking that they give you for things. But it's a good way to look. So you mentioned search terms. So you kind of indicated there was a difference. So who knows about that, or what do you know about that?
I think PubMed used to really strictly search based on the mesh criteria, like keywords that are predetermined for different articles. But I believe in the last year or two, PubMed has had a search revamp where it now uses kind of a more free keyword searching and a better matching presentation of results.
Yeah, so you mentioned two separate things that would pop up here. So who knows what mesh means?
I don't know what it stands for.
Subject headings. I watch Librarian, some kind of
Yeah,
subject heading.
medical subject headings. Yeah, so those are specific terms that are chosen by professional indexers, as opposed to the keyword searches, which are just looking for the occurrence of a word in an article or in a manuscript. So no, exactly. So Medline Pubmed, we kind of hit on those. You can access Medline which through PubMed, which is, I think, what you were kind of referring to. But there are a bunch of other resources that you can look for medical education literature. Does anyone know what ERIC is?
Education based, I think it's not just medical education.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the Education Research Index.
No idea.
I actually wrote it down here because I never remember. Center, Education Research Information Center. So it's the largest database of just pure education research, but it is education, so it's more general than medical education. How about PsycInfo? Anyone? Sorry.
I've used it a little bit.
Yeah, so it's the APA gold standard. So it's where all psych stuff is kind of housed. It's their gold standard. There is some crossover with PubMed and Medline, but not exclusively. Does anyone know the next one? So that's the Nursing and Allied Health Professions Index. Again, it's got a lot of journals, many of which don't cross over with Medline. So it's another place that you can look depending on kind of how broad what you're doing is. And then Scopus and Web of Science. Does anyone know what those help you do? So they're kind of good for tracking where something is and where it's been cited. And so it's a good place to go to kind of see where things are being disseminated and used and picked up. Then this is the other thing that I think is really important is consulting your medical librarian. We've got medical librarians at most institutions now. They are really good at this, and they can really help you refine your searches. And at a lot of places, they'll do a lot of the searches with you if you sit down and talk to them about what you really want and what you need from the search. And then remember, the key is you've done this lit search, you've gotten all these different articles. You still have to go through and look at these articles and decide, is what they're showing valid, credible, trustworthy, legitimate? And remember that a high-impact journal doesn't necessarily mean high quality, and it doesn't mean that it will relate to what you're doing. So it's really important to take the time to review things.